Phase 8 and New Avalon have been a rather amazing experience, getting to experience new content after Karazhan Crypts to go into a brand new raid and a new location that, yes, while taken from Wrath of the Lich King's Death Knight Starter Zone, is new to Vanilla's world. And people have been loving it, they've been enjoying it, they've been having a very good time in it. But the number one question I get in my comment section, in my Discord, in my DMs, what's next? Where are we going? What's after Phase 8? And we're gonna address that. So we're gonna start with the Phase 9. And what even is Phase 9? What will that even look like? And we have kind of a little problem. There's two real options here. And both of these options are big, they're expansive, but they're options we have to consider. Option A, the 0.5 phase. So Phase 8.5. And this is the more realistic of the two options because Phase 8 was initially meant to be Phase 7.5. The devs even said that Scarlet Enclave was meant to be a 5-boss dungeon. You went to go get your legendary. It was meant to be somewhat fun, somewhat cool, kind of as a nice finisher off. Put the little icon on the top of the cake and boom, we're done. Enter Solid Era, everybody gets to keep playing and loving their characters, having a good time, while they work on what's next. But the devs got passionate. They got into the development cycle and they made Phase 8. They took way more effort into the zone, brought in New Avalon, added all the quests, all the dailies or weeklies, made the raid, gave us all these extra bosses, way more mechanics than most people really asked for in a classic raid. Really fun, not super well tuned, but really interesting experience and foray into the Scarlet Crusades lore and story. So if we do get another phase after Phase 8, it's gonna be Phase 8.5. Maybe a little storyline at Hyjul, like a little dungeon or a small 3-boss raid where you have to fight your way through the Demon Canyon, get to the entrance of Hyjul, break open the gate, and then that's where the dungeon ends, that's where the little raid ends. Stay tuned for next time in Classic Plus after BlizzCon. That's realistically what we're gonna be looking at. And that's not to say that's a bad thing. Having a little final send-off dungeon or raid, and with them maybe sprinkling a couple of more 0.5 patches over the next year or so while they work on what's next, is a fitting end, because it means we're still getting some content, we're still getting some patches, some tuning, but for the most part the devs can put their effort onto what comes next. But we do have to consider option 2, which is the less likely option, but still a very solid potential, in that we get a full-blown Phase 9. And what could Phase 9 even be? Well, I'm gonna list off every potential location that devs could go. You have Hyjul, Karazhan proper, Grimbatal, parts of TBC like the Ghostlands and Zulaman and Hellfire Peninsula, a pocket of the Emerald Dream, Uldum, the Caverns of Time. And that's just some of the unfinished content. I didn't even mention the Dark Iron Highway or other locations like that. There is so much in Vanilla's world that devs could go to. Nobody really expected Phase 8 to be the Scarlet Enclave raid. People were expecting Hyjul, Caverns of Time, Uldum, things of that nature. But they made the Scarlet Enclave. So that gives them room to do anything. They could literally go and redo Jin Thalor and make Jin Thalor this huge new troll raid. They can do anything they want while expanding upon the classic world. They're not really limited to the big unfinished secrets, unfinished locations that people want to see. They can do whatever they want. But I can't really say what direction they're gonna go in because there's one key problem with SOD's development is that they're not allowed to break lore. They can't do alternate timelines, alternate storylines, alternate events. SOD's story has to be cohesive with retail and the current modern storyline. Chris Metzen doesn't essentially approve or disapprove every quest or story, but he approves or disapproves the major plot points. Scarlet stuff? Cool. You want to do a demon raid? No, it doesn't fit the lore. You want to do an old god thing? No, it doesn't fit the lore. You gotta stay within the confines of the lore. This isn't Classic Plus, it's not an alternate timeline. It's within the confines of the lore of World of Warcraft proper. Cavern of Time is the only way around that, where they go into alternate timelines, or they go into the past to do different kinds of raids and stories. But that's really the only way around that little situation, that Horcrux of stopping us from having fun. But the likelihood of option 2 is sadly slim. Not impossible, just slim. And that's because we have a MoP Classic coming very soon. June, July, or August this year, 2025, we're getting MoP Classic. That doesn't even account for TBC Anniversary later this year. It's coming out November, December 2025 or January, February 2026. We know we're getting TBC Anniversary. It's not like a theory crafting or praying thing. They literally said we're getting it. It's in the roadmap. TBC Anniversary is coming. That does not even account for World of Warcraft Midnight, the new expansion coming out Q1 2026 or very early Q2 2026. They said they're doing 18-month developmental cycles for the retail expansions going forward. If we're sticking with an 18-month cycle, Midnight comes out in February 2026. There is no real universe in which the classic devs are going to be competing with the retail devs for placements. Retail will have a priority. Whether we like it or not, retail is the priority for Blizzard. It makes the money. Now, in my personal opinion, in my hopeful opinion, we're going to get a phase 8.5 or phase 9, which is the Caverns of Time. And then every 3 months, they're going to release a new dungeon, maybe a crazy little raid, maybe a full raid every 6 months while they build up what they're working on in the background. Because Caverns of Time and reusing, for example, say they reuse Alwyn Forest and they make a raid in Alwyn Forest. The Gnoll Wars, where the Gnolls were sieging the humans, they can do a raid, use Alwyn, make a lot of Gnolls, resize, small size, whatever you want to do with them. It's much easier than creating a brand new original Alwyn Forest zone and Stormwind City zone for a raid. So Caverns of Time is the easy way out of creating new content and keeps giving us SOD players more content to enjoy. Because the devs are currently working on something in the background and most people hope it's Classic Plus. I'm not hoping, I know it's Classic Plus for a few reasons. Reason 1, I'm quoting the devs, Season Discovery, it's an experiment we're working on for something else. It's a testing ground. This is clearly for something else. We're trying to learn and get some information. If all of that stuff about Season Discovery doesn't scream, this is an alpha or beta for something in the future, I don't know what I can really tell you. And we know we're getting something in the future because the devs have constantly talked about the experimental state of SOD. Everything else in the Discovery till now, even with Phase 8, has been about learning and trying to figure out what the player base wants. But sadly, and this is the biggest sad thing, we're not really going to get a full-on Classic Plus till after BlizzCon 2026, so November next year. And BlizzCon is September 12th and 13th, 2026, so even if they announce it, then it's going to be a month or two before the launch of the product itself. Now, there's two last things I need to talk about. Private servers and Blizzard keeping an eye on them, and the experimentation of SOD and what that ends up looking like. Now, I want to talk about the experimentation of SOD real quick. The devs have tried a lot of different things, from the retail-like difficulty. Now, I do want to clarify, the raid's not that difficult, people just have to have personal responsibility and actually do the mechanics correctly. Are the bosses overtuned? Yes. But for the most part, the devs are throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. Not every decision they've made has been popular or has been solid. For example, when it came to Molten Core, adding the heat levels was a very controversial decision. For example, Phase 3 and Sunken Temple lasting as long as it did, very controversial decision. Incursions, very controversial. The devs have done some things really well, like the Tarnish Undermine Real. Adding the difficulty modes to give the average player regular knacks and give the sweaty guilds hard mode knacks. Now, is that by definition classic? No, I get it, there's some problems with hard modes, but people do need difficult content so they don't get bored and quickly clear the content and have everything on farm very fast. On top of that, people want more content. They want more experimentation. They want new classes, new specs, but they want the runes removed and they want that shit baked into the game. So if they are adding more stuff to SOD, I do hope it's more dungeons and more raids and less experimenting on difficulty and just adding more content. I know they're trying to drag things out, give us more things to do by making things difficult so we spend more time in a location, but the average player will play it regardless so long as it's fun. And Season of Discovery and Phase 8 is fun. New Avalon is fun. Scarlet Enclave is fun. People just want more of that going forward. But now I want to address the private servers. And this here is the kind of the fun part. They've been keeping an eye on private servers for quite some time. How do I know this? I'm sure if you all know, the rune system is kind of similar to a system from a different private server. And just making characters play how you want, how they interact, all the different ways to play it, that's a cool thing to do. Another thing is there's a private server that starts with the name T that had a nice profession, survival, camping, and we got the sleeping bags, which they really should have expanded upon more in Season of Discovery. I feel like it wasn't utilized to the maximum ability that the sleeping bag really should have been utilized, but that's a different topic for a different video. And that T server I was talking about, their Unreal Engine 5 trailer got DMCA'd into oblivion. The website went down, the Twitter went down, everything went down, the YouTube channel, because that was a really amazing showcase of Classic with Unreal Engine 5 lighting and what that would look like. So they're definitely keeping an eye on what private servers do. And if they are doing that, they can clearly see what the player base wants. Certain servers are doing things really well. They're doing really well designed content, phases, dungeons, raids, locations. If you keep that pulse on the player base and see what they want, Classic Plus is gonna be phenomenal. Sure, 18 months is forever, I don't really want to wait that long, but if that means we're going to get a phenomenal experience, I cannot wait. And sadly, that's the future of Season of Discovery. We may get more phases, but the realistic thing is, we're looking at the future, a couple of 0.5 phases, and a potential Classic Plus in the distant future, as well as all the other game modes coming out in between now and then. So thank you all for watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable. Hate me, but be a dedicated hater. Subscribe, dislike, leave a hate comment, but be creative. Thank you all. Ebonheart out. Peace.